Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. I'm Trina, and my guest today in the writer's room is Gina Ramsey. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for taking time away from your big girl job. As you said, in order to be on the podcast, I know that time is very valuable, especially when you're juggling things like your other job or your other passions, and then the thing that pays the bills. So, talk a little bit about that and how that is for you.
Yeah, so I work a full-time job. I'm a social worker, medical social worker by trade. So that's my big girl job. And so my husband got into wanting to do a business. And because he was in drywall, he got like really exhausted. He's like, I want to do something. So I got him into his passion. And then I'm like, well, what about my passion? So I decided to write my book. At the same time, we're doing all of this. And so it can be strenuous from time to time, but I guess just trying to stay organized and just realizing that I got done what I got done today and the rest will be there tomorrow. So
That's the truth. How did
yeah.
you figure out what it was that you wanted to do? Because sometimes we do get so tied up in our day to day that it's hard to think, well, what else would fulfill me?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started with my bachelor degree I started in the nursing field actually. And I had my father passed away and then my niece was killed in an automobile accident. And I thought, you know what, like, do I really want to do this nursing thing? Do I want to have to tell families that bad news and all of this stuff? So I thought, you know what, I need to shift. And so I picked up some art courses at the university and I thought, you know what? I love this. Like, I want to do art. And so I went with the safer option, which is graphic design, where there's jobs.
Right.
And I came out of school and couldn't find a graphic design job because you need 3 to 5 years of experience. But I feel like oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My cat is pulling books off the bookshelf.
Oh, how
This
funny.
is my this is
The
my life. If
attention.
you're hearing that, it's just him. But
No.
anyways, yeah, so but I feel like life leads you in paths that you're supposed to be going, and it opens up those doorways of visibility to what your next step is going to be. So I ended up working at a women's shelter as an advocate for women who were anyone who wasn't impacted by domestic violence. And but the cool thing was I was able to use my graphic design skills while I was at that agency.
Good.
But in working with people, I found my next passion, which was I really love helping people and helping them find resources. So that led me to my master's in social work. And it's just crazy because, like, what I'm doing now with the book, it really lends to that the healthcare industry that I'm in, the de-stressing, which is, well, laughter helps you to de-stress and helping people to laugh. And then I also help other humor writers find resources to help them reach their next level where they would like to be with their writing career. So it like is all, I feel like it's all connected.
Of course. That is so neat. So,
Yeah.
how did the comedy and the laughter and all get rolled in there?
Yeah, so we moved to Wisconsin in 1992 from the Chicagoland area, and we started having all these like crazy mishaps happening.
All right, I think we got our glitch fixed. So you had
Yeah.
moved, and we were
Yep.
talking about the humor of it all.
Yeah, so we moved to Wisconsin. We started having all these Murphy's Law crazy things happening. And I would tell people my stories, and they're like, oh my gosh, you have to write a book. Like, these things are hilarious. And so through the years, I kept saying, I got to write a book. And then each time something else happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, so have to write a book. And so we actually did have a glove box that burnt up. And when that happened, I decided that's got to be the title of the book. So I sat down at my computer and started writing the list of possible titles for all of the stories. And people are like, how did you remember all that? I'm like, it's all burnt into my head. Like, so I wrote my kind of table of contents, if you will, and I put it in a folder and I titled it Burnt Glove Boxes, carried it everywhere I went for over 20 years.
What?
Went on vacations, took my folder with me, went, just on a out of town, just I would always keep it in a bag with me in case I might start writing in my
Right.
busy time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also thought if I have another story, I'll pop it on there. And then I started popping other people's stories on there because of course, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you got to hear this story of mine. So I would jot theirs down, carried this folder around for over 20 years.
Oh my
And in
goodness.
November of 21, I decided to start writing during NaNoWriMo, which is November writing month. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell people a little bit about that don't know what that is. I have heard of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I had a really good friend that I'm a part of a group of women who entrepreneur women, and many of them are published authors, which I was like a bug to the light. I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
really?
Uh-huh. Tell me.
But the leader of our group, she told me about this. And I said, well, how much does it cost? And she said, it doesn't cost anything. You just sign up and you make your goal of how many words you want to write during the month of November. And you start writing your book. The goal is that you write a novel in the month of November. Um, I feel like I wouldn't want people to shy away from it because they're like, oh,
Right.
I can never do that. I felt like it was a really great launching point for me to really get in there, start writing, stop talking and doing
Yeah.
it. And then I finally finished the book in, my transcript in 22, in spring of 22.
Did you ever feel like you wish you would have started sooner or that, that you procrastinated too long?
Yeah, I try not to go down that road. Again, because I feel like life opens the doors when the doors are supposed to open.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and say coulda, shoulda, woulda, all you want, but that's like you can focus on that and not focus on moving forward. And so I really feel back then I didn't know like what's the next step. Like once it's written, how do you find a publisher? I don't know how to do all this stuff. And so I think that was uh, a fear that was kind of speaking to me. And so, now my kids are grown. My kids weren't grown then. I was running from thing to thing with them, sports and whatnot. And so I had the freedom to do it now. And then also in that entrepreneur group, the owner of Highlander Press is part of my chapter.
Ah,
And so I feel like these people are kind of, here's another person, here's another resource. So it
yes.
all worked out the way it was supposed to.
Good. I think that's important for people to hear that if the timing isn't right, it's okay. You don't have to completely write it off, but
Yeah,
you can just sit on it and give it time to breathe and the space that it needs. So when the time is right, that you're as ready as you're going to be.
absolutely.
So let's talk about publishing. I know there are so many how, what, this, that, hybrid, self, traditional. What did you do? What do you suggest to people who are just lost?
Yeah, great question. So I had no idea. I was not into the publishing thing. I walked this kind of blindly, if you will, with, you know, some higher power guiding
Right.
me and
Yes.
placing my resources. I went with Highlander Press as a hybrid
Okay.
publisher. So they're a mix between traditional and self-publishing. So with Debbie Keevan, she's the chief inspiration officer with them. She offers, like, when you sign on with them, you get into a cohort of writers that are going to be
Mhm.
publishing in the spring. And so she offers classes and she teaches the process through the
Hmm.
way and the reasons for why your cover is important, the X, Y's, and Z's of that. Why the I don't know, your design, like have that cover designed, why the with the different types of editing and why those are important. So I felt like that was the good decision for myself because I had no idea what I'm doing, and it was enough um education and guidance along the way. Her and her marketing person Suzanne, they're always available to answer questions. So that was a good decision for me. Debbie and a lot of other publishers, I think, they can speak on what the different types of publishing are and what the pros and the cons of each one are. And so I know a lot of people who have self-published very successfully. But for me, my comfort level is just not there. I like having that guidance. I like having that person, that go-to person in case I have a question. Um, so I don't think there's any right or wrong way. I think the wrong comes in that if somebody's self-publishing, pay to have your cover, pay a designer to do a cover, and pay to have it edited. Don't just pop it in there without the different types of editing, because that really can make or break a book.
Even had one gentleman author on, and he even talked about how him and some of his friends formed a book group and they beta read for one another. And those can be so valuable because you just don't always catch stuff yourself.
Hmm. And that's something to keep in mind too. It's almost every book out there has an error. And so when I received my first copy and I was
Yeah.
so excited, I started looking through it and I went, I
Oh
found
no.
something after all of these edit after
Oh,
edits after edits, and I was just mortified. And Debbie said, just calm down. Every book has something. And I'm like, but
yeah.
and for me, I'm still like kind of clenching to that, but I
Yeah.
had to let it go. And people are loving the book. They're not going, in this chapter on this
Yeah.
section, so
Good.
yeah.
We don't want you to get discouraged from writing at all.
No, no, not at all.
So, where do you think you will go? Will you probably continue hybrid? Do you see yourself fully self publishing down the road?
Yeah, I at this time I'm gonna stick with Highlander Press. When I initially had my conversation with Debbie after she reviewed a section of my transcript, and she decided, this is a great fit for her agency. Um, I had told her about my vision, and this vision goes back that 20 something years. I wanted to turn this into similar to Chicken Soup for the Soul, an anthology,
Right.
but instead of inspirational stories, have it be Murphy's Law stories. So we'll have open submission periods for people to send them in. Yeah, so she knows she's got the education in this industry,
Yeah.
and I just really feel the one thing I learned when my husband and I were opening our other business through doing business classes, if there's something you do not know how to do, take take the time and use your resources to hire the professional to do it. We're not
Yeah.
experts in all the things. And so yeah, I've had a really great working relationship with them. So I'm gonna just keep going at hybrid. I had a dream last night that somebody was telling me you need to self-publish. I'm like, yeah, I woke up this morning. I'm like, mm-mm.
Not yet. No.
Don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, where do you see your writing going here? You said the anthology. Do you have any ideas to break off and do anything different, or is that your focus for the next? period of time?
Yeah, so I'm one of the facilitators for a group that spun out of the Irma Bombeck conference, and we call it the Germinators, with not germinators, but germinators. So for Irma, and the facilitators and myself, we are discussing possibly working on an old book. So aging issues that happen to women that are absolutely ridiculous. So it'll be a humor book. And I'm so lucky to have these two ladies in my corner. We all pretty much have the same sense of humor. We feel that things don't have to be disgusting, or there's some disgusting and burnt glove boxes, but you don't have to go over the top with those things, or you don't have to have a bunch of filthy language to be funny, because life is funny. So we're working on that. And then we have another side group in that, that it's humor and healthcare. And so we're looking at doing an anthology with a bunch of the members that have experienced healthcare mishaps. However, there's a lot of healthcare stories that aren't super
Mm-hmm.
funny. So I think that one's really going to be a mix of, a little bit of humor here and there, but really highlighting like some of these things that people are really experiencing while trying to navigate the healthcare system while they're ill, and the
Yes.
crazy comments they get from people and from providers. And so we really want to put a spin into that and really hone into that and make people feel like they're heard.
Yes. I love
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I've said so many times to other people, myself, you have to be your own health advocate. And I
Yes.
don't feel like some people even know where to begin. And they,
Hmm.
like you're saying, they have these funny, crazy stories happen to them, but at the core of it, it could cost them their health. And they need to know when and where to speak up and say, this is not okay.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So, and we feel, the one leader, Julie, so it's Julie, Renee, and I were the leaders of the group. And Julie is very passionate about this. She had a couple of cancers at the same time,
mm,
and she was at a corporate job, and all of this system, and like not being able to find help, and she's trying to navigate this. And so she has a book out as well called My Healthcare is Killing Me. And it's just amazing how she puts just a little bit of humor spin into things, but
mhm,
it's not a funny book. It really is
right.
just like, what the heck? It was one turn after another. So she is very passionate about this, and this is actually her baby. She leads the group, and we kind of follow along.
That's
But she does
excellent.
it
Yes.
beautifully. She does it beautifully, and really to come out on the other end and still have a sense of humor and really have a passion for trying to help others is so remarkable.
When I agree with you that humor is it's everything. If you don't have it, sometimes this stuff will just eat you alive. How do
Mhm.
you thread that into your writing carefully? Because you hear comics talk about writing their jokes and how it's such a process that you do have to be careful with the way you're wording things and where the timing is. Has that been a struggle for you? Did you have a learning curve with that?
There was no learning. I just started writing, and that's the crazy part of this. I started reading about writing humor after the
Wow.
fact.
Okay.
And so when Debbie read my sample, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're really a natural at this." She said, "Your writing reminds me of Irma Bombeck, you know."
Yeah.
And I thought, "Well, that's really cool, but I just went in blindly. I just wrote the stories. I did know one thing though, like you have to, when I'm telling you stories, I'm doing this and expressions on the face, you have to be able to project that and bring your reader next to you through those experiences."
Hmm.
So as I was doing my writing class, or writing my book, I started taking some writing classes with um, a professional writer, and she teaches the structure of writing. Now she's not a humor writer, she's memoir, but she these are memoir stories as well, but they just
Sure.
are funny, right? But she teaches how to weave compassion and what's the inner story? What is your reader supposed to take from this? And so that really helped me. I had to take a pause on my writing and take a break. And then I went in with those lessons and it was so helpful. And I still, my stories still need work from time to time. And that's
Yeah.
where Debbie and the editors come in. That's with any book. But there's one thing that they say in humor writing: you never ever want to punch down, you want to punch up.
Mhm.
And so punching down would mean like picking on people who are more disadvantaged or whatever.
Yeah.
Punching up would be, politicians, rich people or whatever. I don't like punching up on anybody, honestly. I just like, it's mean.
Yeah.
But being able to, there's one story I have in there, and it's about this perf- um it's in a Disney story, and it
Mhm.
was a cast member that my daughter and I seem to be magnets to people who like to trap you and talk to you about
Oh.
random stuff that doesn't make any sense. And so um so that writing class helped me to restructure that in a way that didn't make this gentleman look like a bad person, or like um it it helped me to structure it as of what was he dealing with?
Yeah.
What were the underlying things he was dealing with? And he happened to find a couple of friends that would listen to him. And so I feel like it helped me to recreate that story in a way that made him look like he just needed somebody to talk to. So, which is probably the case,
Mhm.
honestly, but um yeah, so I'm still reading books on writing and learning, and it's funny, I'll read those humor writing books, how to write humor, and I'm like, "Oh, I did that. Oh, I did that."
Oh, that's gotta feel good though, to know you're on the right path, that you
Yeah,
haven't completely done everything backwards.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you enjoy the learning process of it all?
I do. I think it's fascinating, and the funny thing is I was not an English student in high school.
Yeah.
College, I did all right with it, but high school, I was like, I am not reading that book. I am not, nope, 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 nope.
Yep.
And had no interest unless it was something that I was interested in, like teen magazine.
Yep.
So it's amazing how we grow up
Yeah.
as we age. And I just find the whole process so interesting and so amazing. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm a sponge to want to learn more and more and more about the
What do
craft. So
what do you do to refill your cup? Like, are you an active person that has to have, their set amount of walking or exercise, or are you a low key yoga person? None of the above. What gets you the mental juices
yeah,
refreshed?
it's so funny. I was a half marathon and 10K runner, never did the
Yes.
marathon before COVID. And then I started doing some of these virtual half
Hmm.
marathons once that happened. And I'm like, I don't get a banana. I don't get cheering. So I gave up on it. And so, gained the COVID-19 pounds. And so I know with all certainty I got to get back into exercising and fitness. I just try to do walks when I can,
Mm.
and just, do like some, leg lifts and different things like
Yeah.
that. Um, but I think how I fill my cup is I just close everything down and I just chill out.
It's very
Yeah.
important
Hmm.
when
Yeah.
you're pushing out all of this mental energy, and it can be very exhausting. So that's
Yeah. Yeah.
very good. All right, tell us where we can follow you, keep up with you, get your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is www.ginaramseyauthor.com. And there's links on there to get the book, but you can order it off of Amazon, or you can go to any of your local indie bookstores or Barnes and Nobles. They'll all order it for you. So that's a really nice thing. And I'm on a bunch of different social media platforms. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which is now X. Don't understand it, but I'm going with it. LinkedIn. So
Great.
I'm on a lot of the different social medias. So um yeah, it's very exciting, and I look forward to what's going to come in the future with this.
Thank you so much for sharing, letting us have a little peek into your world. I really hope you come back when you're ready for that next phase. I want to follow this series. I think this is exciting to learn and very great to share with people. So thank you very much, Gina.
Thank you so much, Trina. I appreciate it.
Yes, be sure you're following along at Run Radio Station and listen anytime at runradio.net.